Don Lemon here. Ahmed Baba here. Hello, sir. I mean, you could say your own name, right?
Yeah, Ahmed Baba. Yeah, I'm here too.
Ahmed. Independent journalists, independent media, but independent journalists, I think it's very important to make that distinction because it's not just all media. We're
Hmm.
independent journalists. So,
Yep.
Ahmed, I have been calling this, and people at CBS are likening this to a bloodbath that's happening not only at CBS, but also at NBC.
Hmm.
Probably going to happen at CNN if they are spun off. ABC. But, a lot of folks got gutted not so long ago, but this is really crazy.
Yeah, I'm hearing the same thing. It's people of color also seem to be mainly being laid off from anecdotes I see at CBS,
Right.
which is
Yeah.
not great. This purging after Barry Weiss was installed there, and it's just transparent. It's David and Larry Ellison. David's dad. He's the one that has. David didn't create any of this for himself. There's big nepo stuff going on there. But basically, David and Larry have this right wing tilt. They've been cozying up to the Trump administration. Trump has ignored all antitrust rules and regulations for them. They bought up Skydance. They merged with Paramount, owning CBS, and then now they might buy CNN, which is insane that this would even be possible.
And possibly controlled and the TikTok algorithm.
Yeah, which is probably the most powerful tool that they would get.
Ah,
It's unreal, man. It's unreal. It's like
Yeah, but what does it say? It's not that ever, when you listen to if you read the media writers, they'll say, well, it's about money. This is about budgets or whatever. Okay, I agree to that a certain extent. But these companies are still making tons of money. They're just not making as much money. So then how much money does the truth cost? How much
mhm.
money does journalism cost? Should the journalism arm or the news arm or whatever of whatever company that it is, should it be a profit center for the network? And so, I think that I think as long as these places are paying for themselves, then
Mhm.
these companies should not be um, relying on the journalistic part of their company as a production or as a profit center for the company. That's what I
No,
think.
I honestly
But
think
they
it's
are.
spot on. I think that's spot on because that's what we saw even at Comcast with MSNBC, like before they split off. MSNBC, it's very profitable. We're talking like, I think it was 150 mil in profit. Like these are not dying organizations, whether it's CNN or MSNBC or CBS. Like these are actually profitable cable orgs. And basically what you're right. I think that's a good point to mention the profiteering is they're using it as a profit center to subsidize other parts of their companies. Like similar how, New York Times uses Wordle to subsidize like their international coverage. Like they're using the games revenue to basically fund their other work. We see these other companies take the profits from MSNBC, CNN, these cable orgs, and then use it to subsidize other parts of their organizations. Whereas they should just let them thrive. They're already profitable. Why do you not have to interfere? So like now what we're seeing, I don't think it's about money. It's very clearly about political ideology.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's very
That's where I
clearly,
was going. That's where I was going with this. Yeah. Go on.
yeah, very clearly about political ideology. We have Larry Ellison, and he's been cozying up to Trump. He knew very early on that Trump was going to greenlight mergers for people he agreed with. And we see that happening with Skydance and Paramount. And Larry has sent multiple signals to Donald that he would do his bidding and twist these organizations into right-leaning enterprises. We see CBS already going down that route. There's a reason why Trump wants Larry in charge of TikTok and Oracle because they want that algorithm to be twisted to the right. Who controls the algorithm controls the minds, and that's where Donald's head is at. That's why it's so worrying.
Yeah, but it's also not just about political ideology, it's about religious ideology as well, because they thought, according to the reporting, that the networks, and specifically they're talking about CBS, because this is a thing that's, in the news right now, that these networks were too pro-Palestinian and not
Mm.
pro-Israel enough. And Barry Weiss is very pro-Israel. I think Ellison's are very pro-Israel. And just by saying that, I'm not anti-Semitic, right? I'm just pointing out what is happening out there. But and so that's what they believe. And if you look at, I don't know if you remember the conversation that Ta-Nehisi Coates and then what is it, David DeCopel or whatever, Tony DeCopel had
Yeah,
on the right. Do you remember that? And
yeah,
apparently or reportedly, that was pivotal in some of the decisions that were made to get rid of, their race and justice or whatever it is, diversity department in the news. And a lot of these, black voices or race and diversity or any of those things, those are being just nixed, jettisoned from the network. They're being killed.
yeah. It's not just getting rid of DEI policies. They're literally getting rid of black people, black and brown people, and a lot of black women I saw too. And you're right. It's about the Israel stance, which we've seen, right? Like I remember that interview clearly, and it was wild how they went at Coates, and I think like, and apparently they thought that the interview didn't go hard enough, all right, and now we need to make the stance of the entire network, not represent these views. And I think honestly, the more I think about it, that's also TikTok, right? Because they see TikTok as one of the main forces and pushing pro-Palestinian voices and pushing the images and revealing what was happening in Gaza. So they want to like it's all about this right wing control of the information that we're getting and the minds. They know that if these were to be free algorithms that weren't being pushed towards the right, they inevitably move towards freedom and liberalism and democracy. That's what ends up happening. We see it on TikTok. We see with Gen Z, the numbers are all moving against them. Now they want to take and control the information streams for more, maximization of their disinformation machine.
Are you on TikTok?
I'm on TikTok. Yeah.
Have you noticed something strange with your algorithm rhythm and your engagement?
I started getting some random
Or
right wingers popping up in my algorithm a little bit.
I noticed a difference in engagements from like millions to, hundreds of thousands to tens of thousands now to sometimes just thousands. And
Mm.
I'm like, hmm. And that's been recent because I was like, wow, my TikTok was like one of my biggest platforms. And now the engagement, and now I'm like, there's something weird. But the engagement is still on Instagram. The engagement is still very good. A
Mhm.
lot of the things on TikTok will get taken down if it's, not positive of Donald Trump. It is not even negative. If it's not positive about Donald Trump, and they'll take it down for misinformation. If you are pointing out misinformation that Donald Trump is, it's like, it's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah, I had something like
It's
that happen. I did a video about how like Trump's authoritarianism has a cost and how it's impacting the economy. And that video got flagged. And I appealed and it just the reach got totally limited. Meanwhile, my other videos got tens of thousands or over 100,000 views, and then this one just got totally throttled. And I've seen that happening more often. No, you're right. I think they're already beginning to like tweak it and to try to in hopes that even ahead of the merger that Trump doesn't potentially change his mind. Yeah, it's just
to have that much control. I mean, the whole antitrust of it all, right?
yes.
There's supposed to be regulations in place for this not to happen, and we know that a lot of those regulations came down, as a matter of fact, during Ronald Reagan. But
Mhm.
since then, it has been on a steady decline of people. Well, at least I shouldn't say a steady decline. It was at least people sort of held to antitrust. Um, and the Republicans hold to antitrust when it benefits them. Like back in when Donald Trump's first term, when AT&T was trying to sell, was AT&T AT&T was trying to buy
Yeah.
uh, Time Warner or whatever it was, Turner or whatever, and which was part of CNN. And Donald Trump tried to hold it up, and finally they had to sue and whatever, and it took a while, but it eventually went through. Now this time, he believes in antitrust when it's for him. So
Mhm.
this time now, unless you agree with him, unless you are completely pro Trump, and I guess this time pro Israel, you will get your stuff, your mergers and acquisitions passed. Your business will go through. And if you listen to Brendan Carr, because Brendan Carr is also, very pro Israel, very pro Trump,
Mhm.
and they will stop you in your tracks if you
Yeah.
do anything other than that. And this looks like that's what they're trying to do to Americans. That's censorship right there,
Yeah.
supposedly from people who are free speech absolutists.
100% censorship, and it's abusing the power of the government to force these views. Like you said, Brendan Carr, that's what they try to do with Jimmy Kimmel when he said something, and Trump's always constantly posting and targeting individuals in these networks he doesn't like. And now, like, it's not just before, like in the first term, it was more punishing people. But now it's like he'll reward those with these loose antitrust rules. Like it's the Ellison side of this. It's so unbelievable. It would not be approved in any other reality. Not the Skydance Paramount one by itself would have already run into too many issues under a Biden or Obama administration, let alone also buying the large one of the largest studios that runs HBO and CNN, like, and then you're running that and CBS, and then he's also, I saw in New York Post, like, they're all musing about potentially, them wanting NBC to, like, they want to eat up the entire media ecosystem, the entire legacy media ecosystem. They want run by Trump lackeys. It's like if it's like it makes Rupert Murdoch look tame what they have planned here. So I
It,
mean, what is your take on all this, man? Like, what do you think the
well,
future is going?
I believe that, look, I know it's going to be tough and it's hard to get people's habits to change, but once they start to change, then that's it. I think people's habits are changing. Look, I'm on YouTube. I'm on Substack. I'm on a number of different platforms, but who knows how long those will be around, if they'll be intact, if someone doesn't try to buy them and then also put their thumb on the scale or throttle content and try to purge content creators or journalists or streamers. So we'll see. But I think that with the American public, you people who are watching, all of you, what you have to realize is that you have the power.
Mm-hmm.
And just Jimmy Kimmel should have been a lesson that if you put financial pressure on people, if you start canceling, subscriptions and memberships and all that stuff, and not buying products, somehow the only color they begin to care about is green.
Exactly.
And so I think if people just say, you know what, I'm not partaking, I'm not buying, you're not getting my money. I think that'll go a long way and that'll make a huge difference. You don't have to have television. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You can, we can start our own newsletter or whatever it may be, but I'm going to find a way to get my stuff out there.
Yes.
Even if that
Exactly.
means if they try to get rid of it, I'm going to go on conservative sites. I'll be all over Rumble
Yeah.
fighting.
Yeah. You'd be on Piers Morgan, be like you getting out there with all these places, right? Maybe not Piers Morgan
Yeah.
eventually,
Yeah. I don't
but
know about Piers
not
Morgan,
Piers Morgan,
but
but these other places. But like, you're on the right path because that's where my mind is too, and that's something I've been thinking a lot about. Like, what journalists need to do and media people like us. I think that's why Substack's so important because we get the emails, right? That's not anything that can
hmm
be taken away. And at the grassroots level, like you guys watching this, also smash that like button. We're talking independent journalism. Spread this out in the algorithm for your people if you're watching this and you like what we're talking about, because independent media, like the grassroots support that we could have here. Like I keep thinking about the Harris campaign that raised over $1 billion in 107 days. Could you imagine if even a fraction of that was raised by independent media companies at a grassroots level on off years when there's not
hmm
elections? Like
Right, right, right.
the entire landscape would be so different. That 100 that $1 billion, it's gone. But if that had been invested or dispersed, or if some people, like at that grassroots level of appeal, the donor complex that goes towards those candidates, if that is also directed towards grassroots independent media that's pushing the truth, it could totally change the game. So I think you're right about talking about boycotts, but also on the other side of that, the affirmative use of your money to support these independent journalists and these creators and these organizations, because this is going to be the future. Like we see Ellison, they're out here, they're trying to gobble up all of legacy media. It's going to be voices like you especially, Don, like out here doing this real work that needs to be supported by the people, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So smash the heart, smash the screen, guys. Um, yes, you're right. It just, it worries me about where yes, you said, where does this go? What are my thoughts? It worries me about, um, people who are pretending that they don't have a voice or that they have been discriminated against in some way or suppressed, and now doing the same thing to other people, right? That they believe was done to them.
Yeah.
Um, I'm all for diversity in media. I'm not for the platforming liars. Like I was on my show on YouTube. I did something on what's her name, Katie Miller. And I keep wondering why people book people like her for shows. Why is she on there? Why do I care what Katie Miller has to say, her or her bigoted husband? I care what her husband has to say because he's at least in the White House creating policy.
Yeah.
But I don't give a shit about her. I don't know why she's on a cable news show spouting off some bullshit or on a streaming show like Piers Morgan. Why is she on there spouting off some bullshit? It's really just for clickbait. And that's what we have to be careful of.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't like. You're right. Stephen Miller being platformed is different. His ideas and what he's saying actually impacts where the country is headed. But Katie, like, why book a bad someone who's gonna go on there and lie? I saw that one clip where she was talking about how someone like said, "Oh, you Millers lie," right, referring to obvious. It was Shank, I think. Yeah,
It's just, yeah, she
yeah.
said it was
And
anti-Semitic.
she said it was
She said she should
anti-Semitic.
have him deported.
Yeah, and it's like,
She,
what?
she wants to have him deported. She said, "You better make sure that you filled out all the work on your immigration papers or something like
Oh,
that."
I miss that part.
Oh yeah,
Jesus
yeah,
Christ.
yeah.
It's just like that's their go-to now. Like you get sunned in a debate, and then it's just like deport. Where's your
Well, that's it.
papers?
Well, that's a real indication, Ahmed, that the cruelty is the point. It's not about arresting or detaining or deporting the worst among the worst. The worst of the worst is what they said, right? The
Yeah,
criminals, the rapists, all of those things. It's just that, and because we know American citizens are getting caught up in it. It's about just being cruel. And she admitted that. She goes, "You better check." So it means that they're targeting people that they don't like. That's what she's saying.
yeah,
So, I mean, the White House should be concerned about that. I mean, Stephen Miller, what do you, she's your wife and she's
yeah.
telling people you better look out. So Stephen must be saying
You're right.
somewhere
You're
she's
right.
got to
That has
be.
to be some kind of indicators. He's hearing it from somewhere. And no, you're right because she also said something on some show where she was like every morning Stephen Miller wakes her up and talks about inspirational speeches about how he's going to go after his enemies, and it's just like they're just such a toxic, like radical couple. And you're right. He must be saying things to her to make her think that that's actually a valid thing that she could say, oh, we're going to, you better check your papers because we're looking into it. Because Miller has this urge to denaturalize people. He's talked about it before, that denaturalization and basically removing and revoking people's citizenship is important. And man, I mean, it's just like it's tough. Like I get that all the time. I get attacked. They tell me to deport me to where I came from, and I'm like, oh, well, I mean, I got to go back to Maryland. Like I was, like, oh, damn, the hell, the foreign nation of Maryland. But like they just assume it's like these people were the people who were indigenous here were browner than all of them. You know?
Yeah, like Mexicans and Native Americans who were
Yes.
actually here before the white people were, and it's obviously before we were as well. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
just saying.
unbelievable. It's
No,
unbelievable, man.
it's not unbelievable.
Well,
I
it's not
believe it.
unbelievable anymore. I
I
believe it's
know.
totally discernible unbelievable, actually,
Yeah,
and
I know it's a
expected.
figure. I get that it's a figure of speech. I'm not trying to correct you. I'm just saying, but it's not unbelievable because this is what they wanted. This is what we told people during the election, and that they were going to get. I have a group of farmers coming up on a show, and it's probably by the time this is out there, it will have dropped. I think it's about 6 farmers they're over it. They're they're done. They don't even know what to make of what's happening. And they said they believe it's a misconception that all of the farmers voted
Mhm.
for Trump. Not all of them. There was, I think it was like 70. No, I forget I forget the exact amount. But they're some of them were progressive, some of them were conservatives, but they're saying even if we didn't, they're saying um they don't believe in the FAFO. They're just saying we were misled, which is okay. I understand that, and if you realize you were misled and you're coming over to the bright side, then I'm good with that. But it's kind of what you voted for, and I mean, whether you
Yeah,
realized it or not, it is kind of what you voted for. Not kind of, it is what you voted for. You just didn't realize that you were voting for it. So I say that because we tried to tell people
we did.
that you were going to get, that what Stephen Miller was doing. We were trying to tell people about Project 2025, and they didn't believe it. They didn't believe the black woman.
Mhm.
They just said, oh, she's got Trump derangement syndrome. She doesn't know what she's talking about. And as it turns out, she's right. Donald Trump has sicked the military on on U.S. citizens, on the people living in America.
Yeah,
Something that anybody that nobody thought would ever happen. And here it is. Donald
It's all
Trump
here.
is now people in a day or so, right? And by the time this drops, it may have already happened. People aren't going to get SNAP benefits and government services
Hmm.
that they need in order to live, in order to pay for medication. Open enrollment will have started for healthcare, and premiums are going to go up. Medicare has changed. People don't even realize that Medicare has changed. They may not even be able to have the doctor that they want, and the costs are going to go up from that. And they think, oh, well, I'm with Aetna, or I'm with Blue Cross, or I'm with whomever, and it's all good. And it's like, mm, not so sure. Humanity, you better check it out. You better check it out because you will open up that bill and you'll go, whoa, or you'll get a note. You'll show up at your doctor and you'll go, you can't come here. I'm not in network anymore unless you want to pay.
No, you're right. Those subsidies propped up so many of the other companies and lowered prices for everyone, not just those enrolled in Obamacare. And overall, you're spot on. I mean, like the farmers, all of these people, they didn't listen, right? Like I remember writing about Project 2025, and people were telling me, oh, he wouldn't invoke the Insurrection Act. Like that's not something he would ever even consider. He wouldn't have military on the street. It's like people were calling us crazy when we were writing about this. Like I remember
Yeah.
2023 when I wrote my first article on Project 2025, people were like, this sounds like a conspiracy theory. And I was like, okay, we're just gonna see. It was written out there. He told us repeatedly, and that's another thing that comes back to the media stuff. People saw what their algorithms presented to them. Not everyone saw him saying we're going to go after the enemy within. Some other people on their algorithm, their TikTok, they just saw him talking about the economy, right? So it's like, that's one of the reasons why bringing it back all together here, like the Ellison thing is so important. And one of the reasons why they want to take this control, because they know those farmers that you're about to interview are out there. They know those stories exist. They know that people are turning on them. So now, in order to try to wrestle control back of the narrative, they need to literally propagandize the entire media ecosystem because they're weak and they're failing. And that's what this all comes down to. And it's also stories like what you're about to present with those farmers. That's what the media should be covering. I don't want to hear from a Katie Miller or another Trump supporter that is going to defend everything he does. I want to hear about the real Americans that are on the ground, that are fed up and feel like they were misled, like those farmers you talked to. We need more of that, man.
Yeah. Well, you said it and you wrapped it up. Ahmed Baba, thank you, sir.
Thank you, my brother.
I'll see you again in a week.
All right. See you next week, man. Two brothers talking.
Bye.
Bye.